Lately, I'm really enjoying experimenting with junk journal covers. So if you would like to see how I find a book at my Goodwill and how I transform an ugly cover like this into something fun, just keep on watching. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So here I'm at my Goodwill, and right when I came in, they had this Easter display. So I thought I would share some of that with you as well, just so that you can see what we would find here in Austria, probably similar to what you would find in your area of the world, I'm guessing. Lots of bunnies, lots of eggs. I loved this piece, and if I would have space at home to hang it, I would have definitely taken that. And then they had a little basket with cards, and some of these are just really gorgeous. These were some ceramic coasters. They were just adorable. And then they had this display of old vintage Easter books. This one here was really cute. The bunnies inside were quite creepy, but the children illustrations they had were really cute. I think like these. Was very, very tempted to get this, but I did not. Maybe I should go back and get it. So now this is the book section. So our Goodwill is like a big old warehouse, and it has a fairly big book section, which is quite cool. So obviously most of the books are in German, but they do have books also in English and French and a couple of other foreign languages, which is cool, and they are sorted alphabetically, which is cool as well. So I'm going to show you some books I was considering for covers. So first I saw this one, and this one would have been actually quite good. I almost took this one. It had a good size. The pages don't really matter, but what I was looking for is that the spine is not attached to the book pages, meaning that there's a gap in between like this, so that I could easily cut the pages out of the cover. And this one had a fabric cover, which I would have actually really liked. This one would be a good example, except it's way too thick. So here I'm just showing you that you need to be careful what the size is, because although the book itself would have been great, it was just too thick. This is another example of what not to take. So this is a book that is damaged, and you see here the corners are damaged. So for this project, it's better to take a book that is not damaged. And also this is glossy, which is not ideal. You could work around that, but it's not ideal. Then this is the book. It's called Men Are Like Shoes. It's a novel, and it's an ugly book for sure. But it had a very good size, very good width, and the cover was intact, and it was also separated. So this definitely would be a contender as well. And then this is the vintage children's book section, which I always check because sometimes I find real treasures here, although on that day I did not find anything. This is quite a cute one, but I think this one is like 10 euros. So that's too much. This one I think as well. So I have returned home now, and I just wanted to show you a few things that I got. I didn't get much, but I just had to get some of these very cute cards that I think I can vintage up a little bit and use them in journals. I think these are super cute. And they were 20 cents each, including the envelope they came with. And I just had to get this butterfly. I will, of course, cut away all of the yellow, but I think he's really cute and I could see myself using him. Not sure yet, either as halves, that would be really nice. As a whole, he's of course kind of big, so I don't know. I will take you along if I use him. Then the other thing I found was these flowers. So this was a bag for 2 euros, and it has these kind of flowers with wires. And I thought it was so funny that I saw these, because if you've seen my recent haul, which I will link for you in the description box, I just bought these from the Dutch chain Action. And these are super similar. Look at this. And these kind of even look more vintage than these do. So I just had to get these, although this is probably more than I'm ever gonna need. And then let's see which book I got. So I ended up getting this one. Men Are Like Shoes. I think that is so funny. I kind of wanted to challenge myself to make something pretty out of something ugly. Here you can see the color better. It's a horrible bright yellow. Really not, I mean, I don't like this color at all, but it's a nice sturdy cover. It's completely intact. It has the width I want and the size I want. So all of that is what's important, and let's just cut it apart. So as usual, we're going to take our craft knife and gently cut into where the paper holds together that front piece. And I say gently because I don't want to cut into my spine. I want to use the spine. Like that. And then I'll do the same thing from the back side. I'm just going to flip this over and just cut right down there. Now this again we could use for some other projects, of course. And now I just want to clean this up a little bit by just cutting all of these paper bits that are like just hanging around. I'm trying to get some dimension onto this book cover. So ways to do that, for example, would be like I did for this one, where I used some texture paste through a stencil. So that's definitely one option. Another example of that would be here, where I used a stencil in the shape of a key, and this is great on this cover, especially when I added some more things to it. I do have a video of how I made this as well. But what I'm looking for today is a little bit more dimension. So I want to experiment with some other techniques. And for this, I'm going to look through my die cuts. Now, don't worry if you don't have any die cuts, you don't have a die cut machine. I still have a way for you that you can make this work. First, let me go through what my thoughts are concerning the die cuts. So I want to decorate the cover. Not sure if I want to decorate the back, but definitely the front and the spine with some raised elements. So looking at these, there's a lot of options here. So if you have any shapes where you have like different sizes of the same shape, those of course are fun, and those could be used on the front cover, for example, even just one of the shapes. If you have any like ovals or rectangles or squares or anything like that, those of course would be cute. Like this would be really cute on the cover. Imagine this raised, and then we'll cover it up with paint, and then we'll do some dry brushing over it so that we see the design. It's going to be really cute. So this is definitely something you could do, or even in a square shape. That would be really fun. Add some more decorations around it, maybe if you have any dies that might work, but those are really cute options. Let's see what else would work. So these are some elements which of course are great. So these are really nice, for example, for the corners of books. You could even then, flip it around. So you can have both corners. Elements like these are absolutely gorgeous. I think I might use one of these. What else would work? These kind of dies would of course work either as like up here. You could put it on the top and the bottom. Really sweet. And also with this one. That would be super cute. If you have a little wider one, anything that is kind of long and intricate will be really nice on the spine. And don't worry if it's not long enough, you can definitely glue two together, and then it would be long enough. So that's really cute. But I have another idea for the spine. So any of these kind of like label dies, of course, would work. Really, really nice. What else? Butterflies, dragonflies, all of these would be cute on the cover. Here again, we would have some squares to work with. Just have to find the right size that would work for the book that we have. Like this, and we could add a dragonfly in it. Really cute. So there's so many options, and I'm sure if you have a die cut machine, you could find something in your dies that would work. Circles also make really nice like center. Just imagine this raised again, and then either add something or not. So the circle, for example, is something you can do even if you don't have a die cut machine. You just take a cup or something, you draw it on a cardstock, you cut it out, and what I will be doing, I will be cutting out whatever shape I will choose 3 times, and I'll glue the 3 on top of each other because I really want this to be nice and dimensional. Here again, there's more square options. Flowers as well. You could, if you don't have a die cut machine, you could definitely hand draw a cute flower. So you have one template and then you draw that 2 more times. And again, you glue them together and you can use it on your book. Even these fairies might be cute. I hardly ever have used these fairies, but I think they would actually make a really cute book cover. Maybe this is definitely something I will consider for this book. What else might work? These obviously again would work. I think it's too big for this cover, but in theory, imagine you have this and then on top the fairy. Super cute. I wish I could show you all of these options in real, like finished on a book, but I won't be able to make that many. And any other like kind of shapes would be cute. Hearts, anything you might want to put on your cover. There's so many options. Another option, if you don't have a die cut machine, for example, would be really nice here, a heart. So you just draw one heart or half of a heart, you know, fold a page in half, draw half the heart, and then do that 2 more times, and then you have a beautiful heart here. And then you maybe could put smaller hearts in the corners. So there's really a lot of things you can do even without the die cut machine. So I'm going to play around a little bit and try to decide on which shapes I'm going to choose for this cover. Oh, and what I forgot is I wanted to show you what I have in mind for the spine. So I was thinking, why not use some lace ribbon for the spine here? And of course, we're going to be covering this with paint, hoping that I can get in between all those little holes with my paint. I think once that is dry brushed, it will look really nice on the spine. So maybe I will do that. That's also, of course, an option for you if you don't have a die cut machine. Maybe you have some lace that you can glue on the cover and then go over it with the paint. That could also look really nice, actually. So don't be afraid to experiment. Just have fun trying new things. So this is what I've decided to do. I am going to use one of my fairies, and if I find the link for these fairies, I will link it down below. And I'll set her on top of one of these squares, and then I want this on the top, and I'll have on the back side, I will have a swirl here and a swirl down here. And I think that's enough. And then on the spine, I'll either do the lace or something else. I don't know yet, but I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of these. I'm going to use some thicker watercolor paper. I have some scraps that I'm not sure how thick they are, but they are relatively thick. I'll show you. So I'll cut each shape out 3 times. So once I have all my shapes cut out 3 times, I just need to glue them on top of each other. Obviously, if you don't have watercolor paper, it's just what I had. I had some scraps. I really don't know. I would say, I don't know, maybe 250 or 300 GSM. It is really quite stiff. You can also, of course, use your 12 by 12 papers, maybe the ones with the designs that you don't like so much, because we're going to be painting over them anyway. And then maybe you only need 2 layers. I'll show you what 3 layers looks like. You'll probably have to experiment which thickness is the best for whatever paper you're using. But I found that 3 layers of this paper is great. But I'm sure it would also be nice even with 4 layers, or maybe even just with 2 layers. Now here I just have to make sure that they actually line up. And I want to be very exact when I'm gluing these together. I really want it to look like one piece. With the squares, of course, it's very easy. With these ones, not so much. I will also link these for you if the links still work, because I believe they were from AliExpress from quite a long time ago, and a lot of times then the links don't work anymore because the shops don't exist anymore, or the products don't exist anymore. So that's why AliExpress links are always tricky. Yeah, so this is the thickness I have now with 3 together, and I think that is really a nice thickness. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue the rest of these together. These thin ones, these delicate ones, I'm gonna just glue together with my tacky glue with the metal tip, because that is just easier, but it does take a bit of patience. The more precise you are putting these delicate ones, if you have some of these together, the better your end result will be. So play around with it a little bit until really all your pieces line up to have a nice crisp result in the end, it's worth spending the extra minute or so to do that. And I just realized, of course, I need 2 of these because I want to put them one like this and one like this. So I'm gonna be cutting and gluing 3 more of these. I had actually bought these fairy dies because I wanted to make a fairy journal. That was about maybe 3 years ago. Somehow I never made a fairy journal, but I did make a class for little kids, and we made this fairy journal together. So I had all the parts already cut out and everything stamped, and this is made out of a file folder. So all they had to do was assemble it, and then we just added some coffee dyed paper inside, and I had some printables for them to just glue and some washi tape to stick wherever they wanted, and I had these cute little fairy stamps, and so I think they had a lot of fun. And this is from a book. So that was cute, but not really what I had in mind when I was thinking of a fairy journal. So maybe this can be my new fairy journal. We'll see. So I have all of my parts cut out and glued. And so now all we have to do is glue them onto our cover. Like that. Now you can use whatever glue you like. Actually, I think I'm gonna use some matte medium for this. I think that will make it the easiest. I recently bought this heavy gel medium from the brand Amsterdam. I got this locally at my craft store. I'm assuming you could also find this on Amazon. I just think that a heavy matte medium will work best for this, but obviously you can also just use glue. I just think this is going to be easier. If you have a glossy cover, before you would do this, my suggestion would be to sand it down first with some sandpaper, and then I would even coat it with a coat of white gesso. Don't know if that's 100% necessary, but it's probably what I would do. I was also thinking whether it's necessary to prime this with gesso after we glue these down, but I think since I'm going to be using a fairly dark color, I think it's okay to just put the color on directly. We'll see if that's a good idea. Now when I go over these, actually I probably don't even need to. I just want to be sure that in these like crevices that I don't leave too much matte medium, because I want the shape to be crisp. So if I leave a lot of matte medium in there, it's not gonna have this crisp shape. Maybe better not to go over it with the gel matte medium. Yeah, I think for the other pieces I won't do that. I'm hoping this gives you courage to try new techniques for your covers as well. I always love trying out new things and experimenting and seeing what will happen, because I usually learn something new when I try something new. And it could go horribly wrong, obviously, but then it's an even more valuable lesson. And I don't think it's necessary to cover the whole cover with the gel matte medium, since we're gonna use probably 2 coats of acrylic paint anyway. So I will let this dry before I continue with my paint. One quick tip about the brushes. This is the first time I bought a brush like this with synthetic hairs. And what I'm noticing is that I'm really enjoying this because when I wash it, it doesn't stick to, like after it dries, then it doesn't stick together like a brush with natural hair would. So whether I use it for acrylics or for glue, this one is much better to clean, because I've ruined so many brushes with natural hair, even though I'm very good about washing them out right away. But once they dry, a lot of times they still like stick together and are completely hard. And I've used this one now for maybe 2 months or so, and I'm loving it because I'm just washing it and it's just perfect. They don't stick together. Really cool. So whenever you buy more brushes, if you use them for acrylics or for glue, look for synthetic hair. That would be my suggestion. I forgot about the spine. Oh, I should I should probably do that before I start with my paint. I'm undecided about this lace. These are such nice and crisp dyes that I just don't know if this will look as nice. I'm gonna look through my dyes one more time and see if there's one that I would prefer. I found 3 options that might work, and I think they all would look good. So one is this one. This one is from my recent Action haul. That might look really nice. And there's this one. Yeah, so this one I think would be nice as well. It's simple, but I still think it would look nice. Or then this is a lot more swirly. I was thinking maybe this one both on top and the bottom. What do you think? That might be really cute, huh? I think I will just try this one. I'm chickening out with the lace. So if you try the lace and you see that it works well, please let me know. I would love to know how well that works. I'm gonna go ahead and cut and glue 6 of these. I have one more tip. If you struggle getting these little paper pieces out, I got this from AliExpress as well. And again, I will try to link this. And so one end it has this thing, and on the other side it has this, and it doesn't work with every paper, but for a lot of the thicker paper I think it works really well. So instead of just using your pokey tool to poke all the things out individually, which can be very time consuming, it usually works to just go over it with this brush thing. And there you go, it's all gone. So this I think is really quick and helpful. And it also helps to clean the dies themselves, because a lot of times you have some pieces stuck in the holes and you just go over it and they all come out. So this is really something super cheap and super helpful. And a huge time saver, as you can see. When you stick your pieces together, just make sure that all of your edges and corners are stuck down and that they're not separating. Okay, so once more I will adhere these with my heavy gel. And since I have a bit of a curved spine, I want to make sure, of course, that my die also curves that way. And since we're going to have this beautifully decorated spine, I guess we will be making a hidden spine signature. Or if you have a curved spine and you don't really want to have it that as curved as yours is, you could probably just also put it under some books for a night or so. Now I closed up all my holes. Didn't I say I wasn't gonna go over this with my matte gel medium? It's because I'm trying to make this stick down well, and so I go over it and I again fill them with with the matte medium. Okay, I used my heat gun to dry this more or less, and now I'm gonna start painting over the cover, and the color I'm going to use is this phthalo turquoise which I'm going to mix with some cheap white gesso. So you use whatever color you like. And now I'm just going to go over everything, making sure to get in between all of the little holes. And we are going to need 2 coats of this, I can already see. And I do think it works really well with this technique, with the dry brushing. From what I have seen so far, is it works really well if you do use a darker color, and then for your dry brushing to use a lighter color, a much lighter color for it to come out best. But it would be really interesting to see the other way around. If we have a light color and then dry brush it with a dark one, that actually could also be a super cool effect. And I'm making sure when I'm painting that I'm not just going around like this and leaving it, because we will see that afterwards. So I want to make sure this is a fairly smooth surface. And once I have that, I will also go around all of my edges. Again, making sure to smooth out anything that goes wrong on the cover. Probably should wait doing that until the top layer is dry. Would totally make sense. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop because this is not good. Once that is dry, I will just do the same thing all around on my edges. And then I'll put on a second coat and do the edges again. In the meantime, I've also gone over the inside edges. We don't have to do the whole thing because we're going to be putting some papers on here. No idea what yet. I will have to go through my stuff and see what works. So I have 2 coats on this now, and this final coat with the dry brushing is hopefully going to give it the look that I'm hoping for. So again, I'm just gonna use this as a palette, and I'm using the color Ginger. Use whatever, oh, that was way too much. Use whatever lighter color you have. I don't know how well bright white is gonna look, so if you have something to tone down your white, that might be good. It's good if it's a contrasting color. And the important thing is that you have a totally dry brush, and it works really well if the brush has a bigger surface. And really, really important, as I mentioned when we did the dry brushing inside this cover, let me just show you again. So we did it here as well. So the very important thing is to have very little paint on your brush. So it's good to make sure that it's covered, but then we want to wipe away as much as possible. I know that sounds weird, but that's the only way to get this effect. Maybe we start on the back side just in case we're gonna mess this up. It's on the back and not in the front. And now with a very light hand, I'm just going to brush over my cover. And you see it instantly brings out these decorative elements, which I think looks super cool, and it just makes the whole cover look a lot more vintage. And kind of like dusty. Just always be sure you don't have a lot on your brush. And use a light hand. You can go in different directions. You can even go in circles. And of course, this will also tone down your color a lot, which we want if we're going for a vintage look. And I'm loving this already. So I'm just gonna keep going until I think it's enough. And that is something very subjective. What I might find enough is not what you might find enough. See, I had too much on my brush right there. Maybe with a baby wipe, if we're fast enough. Yeah, that did still come off. I think I'm happy with this. I think this is such a cute way to do a cover, and it's so easy. Anyone can do this. And I can see that my edges kind of have the dry brushing as well, but not totally. So I'm just gonna make sure they all my sides have that. I want everything to be the same. And once I've done that, I of course also need to do it on the inside. Okay, so I've done it all the way around here as well to get the same look. And lastly, we need to find papers that we can put on the inside. And I'm just gonna leave it turned like this so I have a better idea of the color. Now, I was lucky enough to find this beautiful, beautiful paper at a local store called Manufaktum. They do have an online shop, I guess, www.manufaktum.de. So they are a German company. So from the US, I don't know if it makes sense or if they even ship to the US or other countries abroad. But look at the papers that are in here. They are absolutely stunning. And I thought I could find something in here that would work with our cover. And I think it should be fairly easy to find something. These look very, yeah, we say they look very Italian because they're called papers from Florence. So yeah, of course they're gonna look Italian. I'm just gonna keep this here so that I see them next to each other. And I already had a peek and I saw quite a few that would be absolutely stunning, like this one here. This even has like some gold. Then we have this one would be beautiful. This one would even work. This one is amazing. Even this would work. Even actually a contrasting color like this might be beautiful. This. Even something like this or like this would actually work on the inside. Why not? Would be fun. Or this. This is such a hard choice. Even this, wow, this is like a marble but with gold. Wow. So I need to decide. Oh my goodness, I love this. What would work best for fairies? I wish you could help me. Even this one, wow. Oh, wow. This is just gorgeous. I can't really see it so well, but it has this beautiful gold. Oh my goodness, how am I gonna choose? All right, I'm gonna go through this again on my own and make a decision because otherwise we'll be here till tomorrow. It was a difficult choice, but in the end I went for this one. Somehow this one looked the most like fairy paper to me. I can't explain it. So I am thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut 2 sheets a little narrower than the cover pieces, so approximately here, so 2 of those, and then I want 1 piece for the middle that's gonna go over the edges here so that everything is covered. So I'm gonna cut those out. So I have these 2 and then I have the middle one, and you might think, why didn't I just do 1 whole sheet? And I just think it's easier to glue these down without warping if I have 3 separate pieces. Next, I'm going to be inking up the sides with my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide around the outside, not these 2 on the inside, because I want them to blend in. And one more thing to think about before we glue these down is, do we want to have a ribbon running under this paper as a closure? I recently got this beautiful fabric at Action, which again is in my Action haul, which is linked below. This would be such a cute ribbon. So if you look at this, I mean, how cute would this be? But my problem is I don't think it's wide enough, which really makes me sad, because if I center it, I only have this much left on each end, and I don't think that's gonna be long enough, especially if, you know, if the journal gets a little thicker, it won't be enough to make a bow. So I thought the only way I would have enough fabric is if I cut it diagonally. And I don't know whether that's gonna work. I've never done that. Have any of you ever done that? Obviously then I can't tear it. I would have to cut a strip. But I don't know whether that might be really weird. I was so close to giving up now because I could not find the right ribbon. But then I remembered I had this one, and I think this one is perfect for a fairy journal. This will be it. So I'm going to cut a little bit more than I think I will need, because I can always cut the ends. And I will first glue this in to my journal. And I use my 3-in-1 glue for that. So I'll just put a bead pretty much in the middle. And then find my middle. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry while it's standing up. And once that is dry, we can glue in the papers. For this middle one, I'm making sure to really go into that crease here where the spine ends, and really making sure to burnish that down well. And the reason why I'm using my 3-in-1 glue for this rather than my tacky glue is, first of all, the 3-in-1 glue, as also the Fabri-Tex, whatever it's called, is that they don't warp your paper. So if I would have done this with tacky glue, I would probably see paper warping. And the other reason is that if it squishes out on the sides, which I always manage to do, then this just rubs away, whereas the tacky glue just stays shiny and is very difficult to get off, if at all. So they are a bit more expensive, but they are definitely worth it. So I will again let this dry, but basically we are done with the cover. So inside, outside, let's tie them together. Don't want to pull too hard now because the glue isn't dry yet. But you get the idea. So here is our fairy journal cover. There's the spine and there's the back. I'm really pleased with how this turned out, and I hope you give this a try. Let me know if you do. Maybe even send me a photo on 49dragonflies@gmail.com or post it on Instagram and tag me. I would love to see what you come up with. I'm sure you have a lot of fabulous ideas. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you back here in the next video. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!